Okay, hello, my name is Samantha, and this will be my engagement project. I will be doing my presentation on Interpol, which is the International Police Force. So let's see here. So what Interpol is a global police force comprised of 195 member countries through a connected, secure network. So the purpose of Interpol is to create a global police force to make the world a safer place. The headquarters is in Lyon, France. So the origin of Interpol was in 1914 when the whole idea was first took place. Police and lawyers from 24 countries first got together to discuss identification techniques and catching fugitives. So prior to this, policing was common for almost 100 years. And as crime across the world began to escalate, such as economic and sociological developmental crimes, they decided that there was a time for global police departments to get control of this. So cybercrime and people smuggling was one of the main developments in the middle of the 20th century, and that is really what escalated the creation of Interpol. So here is basically the crime programs here at Interpol. They focus on counterterrorism, organized and emerging crime, and cybercrime. So these are the three main problems occurring in our world today, and Interpol is an organization comes together with global police departments to help combat this. This is the executive committee of Interpol, so the main leading body of Interpol. It's headed by the president, and then of course with the vice presidents. And on the bottom we have the delegates, which are advisors to the president and vice president. So as you can see here, there's a lot of representatives who are from different countries. There's a lot of representation in Interpol. Being a global organization, it's important to have representatives in the organization from all different types of backgrounds. I created this chart to kind of explain the hierarchy that goes on in Interpol. So at the top, we have the president and the executive committee. In the middle, we have the secretary general, and on the bottom, we have the general assembly and the general secretariat. So the secretary general is sort of the middleman. So any information gathered by the general secretariat or general assembly that needs to get to the executive committee would go through the secretary general, and vice versa. The president and executive committee would transfer information to the secretary general, and then it would go down to the general assembly and the general secretariat. That red arrow there is if the general assembly or general secretariat had any or changes that they'd like to make in the organization, they'd always have to go through the secretary general. They would not speak to the executive committee directly. Now we could talk about the traditional style of organization at Interpol. As you can see by the charts I provided previously, Interpol heavily relies on that hierarchy for the order, in order for the organization to really move smoothly. It's important that these employees, understand the chain of command and trust each other to relay this information, have this communication system going because of the high risk information that they carry out. So subordinate managers directly work with an executive so that they are required to report to their respective managers. So with methods of surveillance, we can go ahead and think about, the type of information that Interpol holds. It's important that employees are monitored through a clearance system that they have here that is approved when employees are first hired. Motivation. So, Interpol, the whole idea of the organization kind of makes it culturally diverse. There's 195 participating countries. So workers have that ease of mind when they remain culturally representative. There's also a wide range of positions open in the organization, from secretaries to high clearance postings. And when we think about control in the traditional sense, staff are well paid, and it's really important that Interpol treats their employees correctly so that they can ensure that the information that they're dealing with is handled properly, people are doing their jobs right. And we could think of procedural justice, where the rewards such as vacation time, furlough opportunities, paid sick leave is what is allocated as fair to employees. So this is a quick chart I have here. Just want to emphasize the importance of the different sectors of Interpol. So already explained the governance of the executive committee. Over here, it talks about the secure network that links members. So there's a 24/7 command center that is ran by Interpol, which is always updating information in the database. And then what's really important about Interpol is their notice system. So down here, you can kind of see the different types of notices. I had a red notice earlier, which is wanted. There's also different times like intelligence or any missing people or unidentified bodies, which should be a black or a yellow notice. Okay, so relational form of organization at Interpol. So what happens is that these participating countries must trust fellow members with sensitive information control and flow. So we really start going into team effectiveness and how these membering countries are, have this responsibility to share new developments with criminal cases that are international. So everyone kind of has these responsibilities to make sure that this database that Interpol is running is updated with the most recent findings. So these interpersonal relationships are really crucial to form here in this organization, because this trust and helps maintain focus on common goals. And then we got to think about the field agents who are on the field and investigating internationally. So these are kind of like self-managing teams. They don't report directly to a supervisor when they're on the field. So cultural structure at Interpol. So like I said, over 195 participating countries. We start to think about the cross-cultural understanding. So employees such as field agents and executives are required to speak 4 languages. So 4 of the world's most popular languages, which would be Arabic, English, French, and Spanish. And like I said earlier, it's really important that Interpol's organizational structure really remains culturally diverse, because we're working with police departments from all around the world, so there's different methods of policing that they have to contribute to. So it's just important. And I think it's a really crucial part of the organization that they have, require employees to speak these 4 different languages, because it really makes sure that they're creating that interpersonal connection when they're transferring information with each other. Got to think about the anticipatory socialization. So Interpol is an international organization. So when you think about the representatives in the General Assembly, they're there to represent their country. Each individual is there to represent their own country. So you kind of have this, weight on your back. Like the representatives are there. They're like, hey, I'm here to represent the United States. I'm here to represent Germany. I'm here to represent Uganda. Like these, you kind of have that burden there when you're a representative, that you're there to represent your entire country. And that kind of cultural integration into the organization itself, it can kind of place when trying to socialize with others, you kind of have to think about that as well. Motivation control, so ceremonies and storytelling. Interpol is kind of ran in a very democratic way. Executives are voted in by the General Secretary and the General Assembly. So they kind of have those democratic ceremonies. And when they have summits, they do storytelling when they're talking about new cases, new criminals, new organized crime. They're talking about these stories, relaying information with each other. So networked structural organization at Interpol. So the use of information and communication technology, or ICTs. So computerized database. There's this database that Interpol has that they share with the global police departments around the world. And this ensures that all of the police departments are constantly updated with criminal cases, international crime, missing people, unidentified bodies. Prior to the computerization of the database, everything was written on paper, fingerprints, intel, background info. Now with ICTs, this kind of makes Interpol's structure a little easier to manage because it could just be updated instantly via computer. And then we have to think about, the pandemic and how the use of email, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, kind of structured the ICTs here at Interpol. Instead of having a summit in person in 2020, they had a summit via Zoom. The command center, constantly updating, constantly gathering information from around the world from different police departments to create that database. And of course, the notice system that they have in place with the green notices, yellow, black notices. This is kind of a really great communication device because any police department can have access to this around the world. Say someone gets pulled over because they have no tags. The police officer puts a name in the database. They could see if anyone has a red notice on them or they wanted internationally. Great network they got. Okay, so this is my SWOT analysis of Interpol. So they have an extensive network, as I just explained, database, notices, really great. Limited term for executives to prevent corruption. So the president only has a 2-year term. So that's really great. And actually, the president is an unpaid position. So they're there voluntarily. You are there to put your time and your effort into advancing this organization as a whole. It's a prestigious institution. It's global, it's worldwide, international police force. It's a really great organization to work with. And they also have well-paid positions because you are in the government sector. You're working globally for different governments. So it's a really great position to put yourself in. Opportunities. So diversity and inclusion, of course, there's representatives from over 195 countries globally. Global connections. As you work in Interpol, you'll be talking to people from a variety of countries across the world. You have this opportunity to learn 3 other languages. Access to technology. Interpol has the most updated technology up to date in order to keep up with organized crime and international criminals. Databases that connect global police departments to help stop crime. So example right here that I have is the fields. This is an ICT that is at customs of every country to identify false passports, fake passports. This is a really great way at catching criminals who are trying to conceal their identity. And, this is used worldwide, and it's just one of the great technologies that Interpol has implemented. Weaknesses. So security and confidentiality concerns. Even though Interpol does have a clearance system, they're never sure that their information will remain confidential. We have it's so easy for information to get leaked, for former employees to release information. Even with NDAs, you cannot, know for certain that your information sensitive information will remain private or secured. Process of investigation moves slower. Interpol actually does not have their own police force, so field agents aren't allowed to make arrests or carry guns. So this kind of slows down. So say they have field agents on the field, they're monitoring an international criminal, they see the chance that they're able to catch him, they can't even do it because they don't have the jurisdiction to arrest anybody or to have any policing duties. No law enforcement agents, as I just said, no guns, no real authority globally. They just work together with local police departments. Threats. So politicalization. So in the mission statement for Interpol, it strictly establishes a sense that the organization does not take part in any political ideals. So even in our day and age, our own constitution was originally written to not have any political parties involved, but as we developed as a country, that's something that was compromised. And there's always the threat, especially nowadays with politics getting involved in anything. Increasingly complex international crime. We have to think about with the emergence of new technology, how hard it is to track cyber criminals, hackers. These are people who are experts in technology, are able to erase information in an instant. It's just, we have to think about the increasingly complex crime that happens day to day, human traffickers. And then of course, the potential to be weaponized. Not too long ago, during World War II, the Nazis, when they seized Austria in 1947, where Interpol was headquartered at the time, they did manage to take over the organization. So although Hitler promised to maintain a strictly non-political character of Interpol's mission statement, it was effectively absorbed as an arm of, Nazi regime. So Interpol was ran by Nazi leaders, by Nazi money, and had Nazi priorities. So there was about 3 presidents who had Nazi affiliations, including Reinhard Heydrich, who was later one of the, main designers of the Holocaust. That's him right there. So Interpol did seize a lot of the Nazis did seize a lot of information from Interpol, very highly sensitive information. And as we progress as a society and we think about terrorism as a whole, we have to think about these, chances that this great system originally implemented to stop criminals can be compromised by political groups or terrorist groups with other agendas and can be used to their advantage. So we just have to take that in mind. But that is my presentation on Interpol. Thank you.